This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another sunrise safari with us here in Djuma in the Sabi Sands. And what amazing news we have managed to find the Nkuhuma Pride nice and early this morning. They were seen on the dam cam, and I have been with them for over an hour already as they've been moving through the wilderness, hunting and stalking and chasing each other. They haven't come across any kind of food source as of yet, and so now they've decided to sit down and start grooming themselves, and potentially might be here for the rest of the day. It is a very nice 16 degrees and 60 Fahrenheit. It's a beautiful morning. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Senzo on camera, and marvelous to have the Nkuhumas. So please send through your questions, hashtag SafariLive, or follow us on the YouTube chat. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Well, let's see what they are doing. They are now relaxing quite heavily under the trees. There's the old lioness there. You can see there's a couple of vehicles that have come and joined us. They're out early on safari this morning, and I think they're quite happy that we've done all the work in finding the lions. They didn't have to track them. Probably wouldn't have taken too long to track them, but that's a good half an hour to an hour out of their morning. It was hard to reach spots behind the ear. Should we have a look at that in the FLIR camera, Lou, if you don't mind? There we go. Through the bushes you can see the warmth of the two lionesses there having a bit of a ear licking competition. It's marvelous to have them here in the morning with these beautiful colors. Those of you who are not familiar, we're using a FLIR thermal camera here which picks up the heat signature of the animals. You can see how cold the vegetation is on the ground, but the body temperature of those lions very, very warm, up into the 30s Celsius. And marvelous to follow them through the vegetation as they stand out quite nicely as a very golden yellow hotspot. Well, I'm not the only one out on safari this morning, and we are not only coming from Djuma in the Sabi Sands. We have also got Brent Leo Smith, who's coming to you live from the wildest place on the continent, the migration in the Mara.
Good morning and welcome to an absolutely spectacular day here in the Masai Mara. I'm very close to the Tanzanian boundary. It's probably about 2 kilometers from me in an area called Ngarare, which is another area that you have yet to experience. This personally is my favorite part of the Mara Triangle. It is absolutely gorgeous here. We've got the Olololo escarpment, and as we explore this area a little bit further, down to the left we've got these beautiful acacia trees, and down deep there you can see that green is the Ngarare swamp. It's quite a big swamp that the Kishingai stream flows into, and the wildebeest are hanging around here. They haven't moved too far north yet, but this area is too spectacular. If I had to live in the Masai Mara, I would put a camp right here somewhere in one of these beautiful little acacia groves. Now I just want to show you up towards those big rocks there. You can see, the roof's a bit in the way, but to the left of him, lower down, those big, you can actually see the wildebeest across to the left a little bit more. There we go. So you can see those massive boulders that have tumbled down from the cliff face in the past. And you can see the wildebeest and zebra all the way up there as well. It is stunning. Stunning. Now remember, this is 100% live, and I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have Vim on camera with me. And we are wandering around down south, seeing what we can find. You never know what might be down here. So we're actually going to head down now towards the top end of the Ngarare Marsh, through some of those beautiful acacia thickets that are closer to the river. It's a little forest of acacias, and see what we can find. And you know what? A lot of people seem to get quite, well, not annoyed, but disturbed by meh, meh, meh. but I actually find it quite comforting when the wildies are back. Now, let's go across to Tristan, who goes, meh, 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 when he can't find a leopard. Brent Leo Smith is not a well puppy at all. Now, you might see a hand of Ferg. There we go. It's Ferg saying good morning as well. He's going to clean the lens because it's, well, a very misty morning this morning. And so we've got a bit of moisture on the lens. That's better, Ferg. I can already see that it's sparkling. So good job on the wiping. Well done. As Brent. There we go. I'll get it right eventually. Mentioned. My name is Tristan. And on camera, like I said, is Ferg. Now, we are trying to find Thandi and Kalamba this morning. There we go. There's Ferg's little piece of paper. But we are trying to find Thandi this morning. So far, no sign. We found the carcass. It's still up in the tree. There's still a little bit of food on it. So I would expect them still to be around this area. I know that she did go and drink at the dam cam at about midnight and then kind of came back this way. So I'm hoping that she's here somewhere. I would be very surprised if they abandoned the amount of meat that there is actually still hanging in the tree. Generally with leopards, they'll try and utilize every little bit that they can, unless of course she's killed something else, in which case she would leave this and maybe go and feed off the fresher carcass. But there's there we go, I can hear Impala's alarm calling. So that didn't take long. It was just a matter of sitting still for a while. Now it sounds like she's maybe a little bit further to the north. Let's see where she is. I can hear a live Impala shouting, so maybe she was... Maybe she's walking back this way. I'm just trying to find where this Impala is. It's there somewhere, Fergus. Let's try to see if we can get to where she is. Just trying to find... There's the Impala shouting. They're looking straight ahead. Let's see. Where are you? Maybe they can just smell her. I'm hoping that she's here. Oh, now they're running that way. Which way are you? Where are you? I'm just trying to look now. They're looking that way. Let's have a look here. I'm just trying to look. Maybe in the trees. No, Rusty, don't make so much noise. These impalas must have seen her if they're shouting like this. It's not possible that they're making so much noise without seeing a spotted figure. Because it was absolutely quiet. There was no alarm calls at all. And then all of a sudden they just started. Now I would have expected just to find her here, sitting up and looking, or little Kalamba doing the same. They're still looking the opposite way there, Ferg. Right, well, we'll try and find them. I'm sure they're here somewhere. We've just got to keep looking about, and while we do that, someone who doesn't have to look too much is Steve, because he's already with the Nkulma Pride.
Yes, well, the Nkuhumas are still here. One by one, they are moving into the puddle of lions that is growing by the minute. I hope Tristan manages to find Thandi and Kalamba. These lions were very interested. They were playing a lot for the longest of times. Quick link, we're going over to Tristan.
So we've got a fight between Hosana and Thandi at the moment. They're busy going at each other. They've just burst out of the bushes and running towards the carcass. So I don't think it's much because of the fact that the Kalamba is here. I think it's more that Thandi is just trying to stop him from going towards the carcass. But you can see that they are fighting. Now we're going to try and just get through. But not good to see when you see these two cats going at it. They're obviously two of our favorites. Look, they're still fighting there. It doesn't look like Hosana's too worried. Thandi's trying to fight with him, but Hosana's just kind of running along to the carcass. Let's see, one of them's going to end up in this tree. I'm just trying to find a way through here towards where they are. There we go. There goes one up the tree.
So that's Hosanna that's up there, Tandi below, and you can see they are exhausted. They've just been going at it. Tandi's been chasing him, actually trying to claw at him. What is going on? Now hopefully little Tlalamba is okay as well. Now we're going to just take this onto our other platform, so in the meantime I'll keep quiet. Well, good morning everybody and welcome to absolute pandemonium. As you can see, we've got a leopard in a tree that's busy snarling. Now this is a young male leopard that's up in the tree. Below him is his older sister. Now he's going to come down and they might chase each other as they go. The older sister is trying to chase him away. Look, listen. Now the reason she's making so much noise is because she's trying to stop him from going towards where she's got a meal. She's got a carcass in a tree very close by here. In fact, this male leopard has run right past the tree that he's looking for. The tree that he's looking for is more to his right. And she's got a cub in this area. So she's got a cub that is going to be in danger whenever there's a male leopard around. And you can see she's being very aggressive to him. He's not really probably interested in the cub at all. He's rather trying to get towards the carcass where he can steal it. Now, this is live from South Africa, and I've forgotten altogether because of the pandemonium that's playing out that my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Ferg, and we are interactive, so you can post any questions, comments, anything like that in the comment section below, and we'll try and answer them. But this is amazing to witness. It's not every day that you get to see a leopard interaction like this. Most of the time we'll find leopards here in the Sabi Sands. They'll be on their own or with their cub if it's a female, but very seldom will you find them fighting like this. They try and avoid each other as much as possible. Now, I wonder where her little cub is. Hopefully nothing has happened to the cub. Look at that. She's not very impressed with this young male being here at all. He's up in the tree. I'm going to just reposition for you, Ferg. Now, I do also need to just let the guys know, because there are some other vehicles that want to come into this sighting. Now, sorry, Louise, you're going to have to just repeat that for me. And also an apology, we're about to wipe the lens because it's very misty this morning, just to add to the absolute chaos. So Louise, if you can please repeat what you asked. Now I seem to have lost Louise completely. Louise is our director, for those who don't know, and feeds us the questions and all your you back. I've got you back, Louise. You can go with your question that you had. Now, the two of them are just sitting kind of in a game of chess. Now, one will sit up the tree and knows that that's a safe point. Leopards will often run into a tree when they are safe or when they're feeling like they're threatened, and then they'll kind of stay up there and wait for the other one to move. Now, you see he's going to come down. Now, let's see what he does. She might go after him and chase him. Yes, there we go. She will chase him. Now, he's going to keep running. Look at this. You see how she runs interference? And even though she's smaller than him, she's still being highly, highly aggressive towards him. And so in this particular situation, it's the aggression that's keeping him at bay. Listen. Now, what's interesting is the male on the right, he's about 2.5 years old, and the female on the left, she's 12. And I said they're sisters, sister and brother, and that's because they have the same mother. And unfortunately, that mother is dead. Now, the carcass is actually in the tree. He's heading straight for it. That's what he's trying to do. She's trying to block him. You see, the carcass is hanging in the background there, and she's kind of playing up and down, trying to keep him at bay. And so he's looking at all the different trees, hoping that he's going to get some food. It's absolutely amazing to witness. This is a very, very special sighting. Now he's trying to find a way to get around. Right, Fergus, let's just turn because we're going to lose them fairly shortly. Oh, there we go. We should be able to see them a little bit better through here. Now he's going to try and get closer to the tree as he can, or as close as he can. Ultimately, he is physically stronger than her already. He's much, much bigger than what she is. There he goes. Look, she's trying to stop him getting up into the tree where the carcass is. There he is. He's found the carcass. So he's run up and was trying to prevent him from doing this, but unfortunately she's just not big and strong enough to actually compete with him anymore. And it's interesting because a few weeks ago he had a kill and she stole it from him and was the aggressor and pushed him off. And so maybe he's learnt a few lessons that, hang on a second, I'm big enough and strong enough that I can actually try and chase him, well, I can chase her away and I actually can get food out of this. Now, I'm pretty sure where she's going now is to go and check up on her cub. So I want to follow her more than anything else. The male will stay in the tree. He's not going to move now that he's got the carcass. And so I want to try and see if I can keep up with her and if we can find the cub. Right. Absolute pandemonium. And so while we figure everything out, we are going to carry on being live on SafariLive's YouTube page. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you all with us. If the action heats up, we will go live again, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. So guys, I just need to use the radio because everyone's been trying to call me and I haven't had a chance. Yeah, Orbs, Hosanna and Tandi just had a huge fight over this carcass. Hosanna's in the tree, Tandi's now moving northwards, I'm sure back to the Mampimpan. So that was absolute craziness. So there's Tandi, there's Hosanna up in the tree. It's just madness. I did hear Impala's alarm calling in the midst of all of this a little further away, and so I think maybe, just maybe, Tlalamba must have run a little further from where we are, and that's why, you know, we're not seeing her here. But I'm pretty sure Tandi is going to go and try and figure out where her little one is, and to try and just make 100% sure that she actually keeps that little one nice and safe. But wow, wasn't there? She's calling, you hear that? So she's trying to basically, sorry Fergus, I'm in the way. She's trying to just make sure that she's talking to the cub, trying to make sure that the cub realizes that she is still around, everything is okay, and that she doesn't have to worry too much. It's pretty amazing what's just taken place. Shame. She must be so stressed. I'm hoping though that everything's okay. Her reaction to going back to where she's heading is one of, she thinks that the cub is probably okay. If there was some sort of danger, she would have run much faster back into this area. I think she knows that everything is just fine with her little one, and I hope that that is the case, because obviously we wouldn't want anything to have happened to little Tlalamba. But wow, wasn't that a chaotic way to start our morning? Right, I'm going to try and keep up with her quickly. Hosanna's tucking in. He's happy as all. I'm just trying to think which way is going to be our best way. They came from this direction, so he must have been a part of that whole process where they were lying. And I mean, we couldn't find anything when we first got here, and maybe that's why, is that she was followed by him and she tried to just lead him away from the carcass rather than anywhere near it. You can still see where she is. She's fairly close on the left hand side here. Right, so she's still sitting here, slowly moving. Alright, well, while we follow her and hopefully lead us back to little Tlalamba, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy, who's following another spotted predator and hopefully doesn't have the same amount of drama.
Tristan has just had the most magnificent sighting with Tandi and Hosanna, the leopard man. I've never known anyone to get such incredible things. Anyways, we're back on the hippo carcass because it could not run away from me, so I'd have a guaranteed sighting. Hello, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is, well, still the same as it has been as Archie. There's index finger. So remember, this is a live and interactive safari, and we are in the Mara. Now, I'm a bit sad, I must be honest, a little bit disappointed that there are no lions here. I suppose the South Clan... I suppose the South Clan is quite big, so there might be a bit of a deterrent, and maybe that's why. I feel like these hyena have not even left the site of the carcass. So it's quite good for us, of course. I mean, at least we know we can come here, but it doesn't look like there's well, it looks like they've put quite a bit of dent on that hippo carcass. It's a lot smaller than what it was yesterday. They probably started with eating off at the front, and now they're moving towards the sort of nether regions at the back. Hello, dirty hyenas. But it's nice here, though. Nice to be able to see hyenas all the time. Lots of vultures, of course, still lingering around, and marabou storks. I wonder if some of them actually just sat down there for the rest of the evening. When we came past here quite late, they were still all on the floor. Oh, Mel, you've asked how Maurice is doing. Shall we say hello to Maurice? Oh, hang on. How awesome is that sound? Love the call of the hyena. Well, the most common one anyways, which is that whooping sound that you typically hear. So, very nice. Sorry, Mel. Obviously, the hyenas will steal the show over Maurice. Maurice just comes in every now and then, still in his sugar outfit. Very long on the side. Probably needs to do a bit of trimming. He's fine. Dirty. Very dusty. Have to sort of... almost need, like, you know, when you have a chalkboard and you have to dust them out. Yeah. So anyways, Maurice is fine, but he can go back downstairs. You know, it was his birthday the other day. World Elephant Day, the 12th of August was Maurice's birthday, but he decided that he didn't want to be in the limelight. He didn't want to steal the thunder from his cousins, which I thought was quite nice of him. He's changing. He's not so arrogant anymore, Maurice the elephant. Well, there we go. I can't even count how many hyenas are here today, but yesterday at one point there were about 15 of them altogether. And they were squabbling over something at one point. But that's, of course, quite typical. There's a bit of a domestic happening just off to the right. All fighting with one another. It looks like there's some sub-adults there. They're getting quite cheeky. Anyways, it seems as though Thandi is still looking for Tlalamba.
Well, she's not so much searching as calling at this moment. She's come up onto a termite mound. This is where I originally saw Hosana and Thandi running from, and where the impalas, I think, first saw them and started shouting. Now, little Tlalamba probably got a major fright with all of the noise that just came out of these two leopards. There was lots of growling, lots of vocalizing, lots of kind of running into each other and fighting sounds. And so I'm pretty sure little Tlalamba probably ran quite far and was just so scared that there was something was going to happen. So she'll come back. The more mom calls, eventually she'll start to make her way back. You can see what Thandi does. It's exactly like yesterday morning. Obviously a little bit different in that Hosana is here, but she's gone to a high point and now she's calling, and she's looking and she's looking and she's looking up into the trees to see if Tlalamba went to the trees for safety, or if maybe she's somewhere in this general vicinity in order to try and just basically get herself in a good position where she can see the little cub coming. She can also be a high point for the cub to see her, and they can then reunite and go off. Now I see Hosana is in the background. He's about to take the kill down the tree by the looks of things. He's busy balancing. You can see him right down there. There he is. He's busy messing around with the carcass and feeding away. And you know, part of it is obviously tough that, you know, Hosana has run in here and taken it from Thandi and Tlalamba, but in some respects it's been an interesting take on his behavioral change. We know that he was very different a few weeks ago when Thandi came in. He unfortunately didn't... Well, look at that. Isn't that cool? In the mist? That's very, very cool. He didn't fight for his food, and he got robbed. And so I think it's a good thing that he's now decided, hang on a second, I'm big enough and strong enough to look after myself. I'm going to make sure that I keep myself well fed and make sure that I actually get the food that I've, one, got myself, or two, have tried to can pilfer from a female like this. So his weight and his size is definitely going to be an advantage at some point. I want to just try and move a little bit just so I can see if we can get round the side of Thandi a little bit better, or onto the other side. I think in all the chaos that little Tlalamba might have run northwards, and then we are between her and where Tlalamba might come from. So I just want to go back and out of this particular section. I don't mind parking between her and Hosanna, because Hosanna's so raised, she'll be able to see him. But wow, didn't expect that this morning, that's for sure. It was just, we couldn't see anything with those impalas, and then out of the corner of our eyes we just spotted two cats running, and I thought it was Thandi and Kalamba that were maybe chasing each other or just having a bit of a game like they sometimes do. But it was actually then, just as I saw Hosanna come running, I knew that there was going to be major problems. Anyway, we'll try and figure out where little Kalamba's gone. I'm pretty sure Kalamba is somewhere close by, and Kahuma Pride. How fantastic. I just heard Tristan on the radio, and that is incredible. I wish I was there. A little bit more action than we're experiencing right now. But anyway, that is the way the cookie crumbles. The Nkuhumas are now taking up their normal position underneath the guarri tree. The grooming has ceased, and they are now relaxed. Excuse me 1 second. Yes, good morning. Just come to Pangolin and Weaver's Nest Junction. You'll see us just north of the road. Just directions for someone coming to join us. I would like to come see the action unfolding of the Nkuhumas in a deep lion slumber. But remember how quickly they can jump to attention. I mean, they're lying flat. Now, unfortunately, it sounds like we've got a few gremlins that are about, and so you're back with us while Steve figures out what's going on. Tandi's still sitting, still just looking around. You see where we were parked is where she's now facing, and so I think maybe Kalamba might run there, and I didn't want to be between her and where the cub might be. I'd rather sit on this side where she can see Hosanna in the tree. He's not going to be a threat if he's up in the tree. She'll have a clear view of him, and then she can scan from this now and do almost 360 and call and hope her little cub comes back. But she will, I'm pretty sure Kalamba's fine. Hosanna wasn't interested in fighting with Thandi. He was trying to get away from her, and he didn't swat at her once. She was the one that was being highly aggressive, so I don't think he would have gone after Kalamba. I think he just wanted to get to the kill, and she was doing everything she could to stop him getting to that kill. And she did a great job. I mean, she sent him up 2 different trees before he even figured out which tree it was, and it was only when he got up was he able to actually realize that, hang on a second, there's the carcass over there. I've mistimed this and misplaced myself quite badly. So Joy, once she's up in the tree, it becomes a lot harder to protect herself, and it's much easier to go and get herself another kill than to get herself badly injured and fall out the tree, or get herself hurt by Hosanna if he gets aggressive up there. So her instinct is to try and block him as much as possible, but once he's up, she knows that a fight up in a tree is not going to be good, and then she's got nowhere to go. So if she goes up and he comes up and she goes higher into the tree, she's then got to sit and wait for him to finish before she can come out, whereas now she's able to watch him go up. Okay, he took the carcass, which is not ideal, but she can go get another one at some point, and then she can come down and actually go and search for her cub and make sure her cub is okay. So it's better for her to be down than to go up and risk it. If she didn't have a cub, you might have found that she went up and tried to fight with him, or tried to protect the carcass. But without a cub, well, I mean, with the cub, she's definitely going to rather try and err on the side of safety and come down and go and search for the cub and make sure the cub's okay, more than she cares about an old impala carcass that she's fed on over the course of the last few days. But you can hear she's still calling. And those calls will get louder and louder as she gets a bit more desperate. So Elizabeth, I mean, it's difficult to say. You can never know for sure. But if Kalamba ran towards the kill, Thandi would probably in all likelihood run in there and try and just stop her from getting there. She'd probably try and get between Hosanna and Kalamba and shepherd Kalamba away and be very aggressive in her body language, lots of growling, lots of hissing, and that would send a clear message to Kalamba, this is not safe, get out of here. And Kalamba then would run. She wouldn't stay where, if mom is hissing and growling and really not happy, you'll find that she'll get the point very quickly and she'll move. Now she's chuffing a little bit again. Now chuffing is a good sign. When she chuffs, it's often a sign that the little one is not that far away. That contact call is the one that carries further. And I'm looking in all the trees. You see, she's also scanning every single tree, trying to see if maybe Tlalamba went up. Are you going to go up the tree now, girl? She might go up the tree as a higher point in order to be able to call for little Tlalamba. No, she's going to walk past it. Sorry, Ferg. About as low as I can go. Unfortunately, I don't fit in these Land Rovers very well, so I do apologize about my hat in the frame there. It's all been chaotic this morning, and so a little rough around the edges in some respects. But anyway, let's see how we go with her. Trish, difficult to say. I mean, at some point he could. He's getting bigger, he's getting stronger, he's getting, more comfortable in this area. He could very well hurt Tlalamba if he felt like it would be the right way to do things, and if testosterone took over and flooded his system and he's decided that's what he wanted to do, he's powerful enough to really hurt her quite quickly. So it's very possible that that could happen, but in general, no. I mean, I still think Hosana wasn't interested in attacking Thandi or Tlalamba. He was just interested in filling his belly, and so what he did was try and kind of get towards the carcass, and all that commotion was Thandi just making a brave show of it, and also taking the attention away from Tlalamba in case. She doesn't know what Hosana's intentions are all that well, so she's being a clever mom and making sure her little one is protected. Right, I'm going to try and keep up with her and see where she's going and whether or not she can actually find little Tlalamba. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Jamie, who's at, an area where there's a lot of mothers that are taking care of their little ones like Thandi's trying to do here.
Those leopards have been keeping everyone so busy that I actually haven't even had a chance to say good morning to you all. So good morning to you all, and welcome to the Mara portion of the Sunrise Safari, where we are sitting not so much at North Clan's den, but at Waffles' new natal den. And there's a lot behind that story that I'm going to tell you in a little bit. There is her ear. I hope you are all as enthralled as I am with her ear. You'll have to trust me on this. Actually, you don't have to trust me, but I think you probably will. The cub is now moving about a lot, and this new den is beautifully out in the open. Isn't it lovely? I'll explain the whole story. So, essentially, I haven't been live since, I don't think I've seen you since Saturday. Waffles disappeared completely, and then I broke my vehicle. I didn't actually break it, but it broke, and then long story. But it doesn't function at the moment to broadcast. So we're busy fixing that, and I borrowed Scott's for the morning so that I can share this with all of you. Waffles disappeared. We then found Waffles purely by chance right in the middle of the day, and to our absolute joy and delight, it's quite tough to find a hyena natal den, I've got to tell you. To our absolute joy and delight, the cub was out about. It's starting to crawl up over the lip of the entrance to the den. But here's the twist in the tale. Yesterday, when Manu and I were wandering around, and we came to visit Waffles, there was another female here. Lower ranking, obviously, because Waffles is the matriarch, and calling. Which means she's probably got cubs in here as well. Waffles wouldn't let her in, and obviously then by just, an extension, wouldn't let the cubs out. I'm really hoping that those cubs are still alive. Waffles doesn't have a reputation as a cub killer, but high-ranking females often kill cubs of lower-ranking females. So I'm really, really hoping. So essentially, we had a very active morning 2 hours ago. We were here, the other female was back once again, Waffles wasn't here. That female was calling again at the entrance to the den, then she ran off, and we followed her, and by the time we got to where she was going, all of the action had calmed down. And then we came back here, found Waffles at the entrance to the den. So what that means is we missed that first opportunity when she comes in to wake the cub up to see it. And now it's in there probably suckling, having breakfast now that Mom has returned. What that all means is that we're going to have to put up with her ear for now. And I am going to stay here. And I'm sure I will get a message or two saying leave the hyenas, but I'm not going to. Okay, we're going to send you over to something just slightly more active and exciting and join Tristan with his leopards.
Well, yes, it has been excitement and action this morning. It's also been a bit frenetic and a bit nerve-wracking in many respects. It's always difficult when you see Thandi embroiled in a fight with anything. You know that what's at stake, and so between her and the little prince, obviously we don't want there to be too much in the way of damage to either one of them. They're both special cats for us, so hopefully it was just a food-related incident, and now that Hosana has got his food, he'll be happy just to sit there and eat it and not worry too much. And Thandi hopefully will be able to find Kalamba and everything will be right in the world once again. But it was a very clear message that Hosana sent to Thandi, is that he's not going to back down anymore when it comes to his carcasses and to food, and which is going to be interesting going forward, because I wonder now if her attitude towards him is going to change. You know, prior to this morning, most of the time she was dominating any encounter. She was aggressive, she was kind of at him and making sure that he realized that she was the more kind of dominant individual out here, and was making sure that he knew not to go anywhere near her or Tlalamba. Now he's kind of not listened to her at all and has gone straight for that carcass and basically bullied her out the way. And he'll have learned now, hang on a second, I'm big enough and strong enough to do this. I don't actually need to sit back when she comes in. So it's going to maybe change the dynamic slightly between the two of them. I don't think it'll change what's going on with Tingana, but I think with Thandi, she's going to be a lot more wary of Hosana going forward. Now, Rina, whether it'll change, you know, how... Or whether it's changed Hosana in terms of that he's becoming more dominant, probably not. He just has a belly that just never fills up, and so he's always hungry in the last few days. And yesterday he got his carcass stolen, and so maybe he just lost his rag and has decided, I've had enough of everybody taking my food, I'm going to do it myself for once. Or he's just learning that maybe that's the easiest way. So he's learning from his dad and his older sister in some respects. But I don't know. I don't think he's getting territorial yet. I mean, we are seeing him displaying signs of scent marking, and, you know, kind of, he's spent so long in this section that he will very much feel at home here. But whether or not he's actually going into a dominance display, I don't think so. I don't think this is what we saw today at all. This is more a display of him just wanting to get food and kind of pushing his way there and realizing that he was bigger and stronger than Thandi and able to do it. But what we really need is Tlalamba to come out. Once Tlalamba's out, then it's, you know, it is what it is. It was a leopard's meal sharing family dinner, and how many family dinners end up with little spats like that? Many out there in the world. But isn't that beautiful, though? I know she's calling and it's kind of a worrisome time, but with that mist in the background and the undulating terrain of the Sabi Sands and a leopard on top of a termite mound is about the kind of picture that you would think of a wintry day out here. So very, very, very cool conditions. It's added to the atmosphere of what's actually going on this morning. So, Miss Muffin Girl, if Tlalamba doesn't respond, well, then Thandi will start getting a bit more frenetic and a bit more kind of chaotic in her movement. She'll run up and down. She'll just keep moving up and down, scenting, trying to figure out what's going on. And eventually, you know, she'll kind of move and move and move. And if Tlalamba doesn't respond by the end of all of it, then there's going to be she'll start to then think that the worst has happened and probably search for 3-4 days and then just give up and carry on. So, and go into an estrus again and mate. So it's a sad thing to watch when a leopard doesn't know where its cub is and it searches. You find with leopards that see their cubs being killed, they generally accept it very quickly. They move off and they don't really mourn for long periods or search for long periods. But when they don't know where the cub is, they'll search for 3, 4, 5 days, sometimes even longer, pacing up and down in those areas, calling, and the calls get louder and desperate as they go. And eventually, you know, if nothing responds, they then move off. But in this situation, I'm pretty sure Tlalamba is just petrified at the moment. She's nervous of coming back to Mom, even though Mom is calling. She'll be kind of wary that, you know, maybe, just maybe, there's something she needs to worry about, and maybe, just maybe, you know, there is still a threat in the area, and so it's going to take a lot of convincing from Thandi to get Tlalamba to come back here and to come and join her. I'm just going to move a little bit for Ferg because he's got this torchwood that's sicklebush, sorry, not torchwood, right in front of him. So Ferg, I'm going to just go back for you and around this marula. What we're going to have to do is get into low range first, though, because we went over a rather large stump. Go. So now we're through there, we can just get round. Right, while we just reposition the car and get ourselves into a better position, I'm going to send you back across to Steve and, well, a rather sedate Nkuhuma pride in comparison to these leopards. They are sedated, but there's something that catches their attention every now and again. As you see, the head just then very quickly pops down again. Very sleepy lion. We don't know exactly where they came from. They came from the north. As we were getting ready this morning, Louise, the director, was in final control, and she said, "Lions on the dam cam." So we got quite excited, and we went down there with the vehicle, myself and Senzo, and we found them all playing around and running up and down and stalking each other. It was really lots and lots of fun. And obviously now that we've gone live for the internet show, they've decided, well, the fun is over and it is time to behave like a lion again. I was just commenting earlier to Senzo how it's amazing how these animals, in the cover of darkness, they've just got this very different look about them. Their eyes are different, their whole body is just, there's a different feel. And as soon as the light comes out again, they just go back into this sort of slumber-like mode. But when it's dark, they've just got that really wild element about them. Stella, you want to know the whole pride is here? I believe so. Right now, I can only count 9, but there's 2 more on the other side there, I do believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 here, kind of in our shot. And there were 2 more just the one. But I do think they were all here. I actually haven't counted 11 in total, but I'm sure they all. Hey, Sens, you counted them, eh? They were all over the place while we were following them. They were splitting up and moving, and they definitely are hungry. They don't look very full. There were reports that they were up in Buffelshoek on a buffalo, but they don't seem to have eaten a buffalo. The buffalo lasts a few days in their belly. And came down to the watering hole to have a nice drink. Those of you who were watching the dam cam would have got some nice shots of them there. And now they are in the heart of Djuma, having a snooze. Okay, so we're going to go over to the flare camera to have a look at how nice and warm they look. Look how beautiful that coloration is there. Indeed, a mercury ball of lions there, a puddle of lions. At least it adds a little bit of different perspective to the flat cats. There we go. Look how warm the face is and the feet. Carol and a few others want to know about a fetus in the womb. Well, I don't think it picks up internal heat. It picks up surface heat. That's why when you look at the ears or you look at the fur, it's got a certain sort of coloration to it. If there's a wound on the back, for example, if we can you get this one's wound here? Sens, do I need to move forward? Okay, well, if there's a wound on the skin, that stands out really brightly. You can see her nose there. The nose is very, very bright yellow, but where there's fur on the skin, you don't see deeper than that from the surface level. I don't think the fur picks up anything internally. For example, even if they've got a full belly of meat, you won't pick up on that. You'll just see the full belly. But scratches and wounds on the body themselves stand out quite nicely. Just like if we go to the normal camera, then we'll pan across to this other female and see if we can have a look at that wound on her back. Let me move forward, Sens. You can get a view of her. And we'll see how that wound on her back. We all know the oldest lioness with that injury on her back there. There we go. There you can see it, normal. Now if Lou goes back to the flare camera, you'll see how it stands out. Can you see where the fur is missing on that wound? And there's a couple others on the back. Even a little bit of mange on the back of her head. That's kind of where patches of fur are missing. So that's why you can see it so nice and bright like that. But you wouldn't be able to pick up below the surface. Just like, that's just the covering really. But very interesting. And a couple of those wounds on her back there are actually quite gross. Especially the 2 right down on the bottom, middle of her back now. If we go back to the normal camera, please, Lou. There's an enormous wound on her back. If you can just zoom into that. Down, right. No, not that one. Down. There we go, in the middle. That looks like a claw mark in her back with an abscess of sorts. You can imagine if you squeeze that, what's going to come out. It will be quite interesting. This battle-scarred individual. There we go. That is what happens with lions, though. They are quite sort of adept to dealing with wounds, but every now and again you might get getting clogged inside, and no doubt the pus will build up, and that will at some stage pop as an abscess, and I have no doubt the smell will be something quite incredible. But anyway, we're going to go back up to the migration with Brent Leo Smith. I'm sure he's got some wonderful things up there to show you. Who knows if he's managed to find the sausage tree prior this morning, but no doubt there'll be some wildebeest.
Well, here's the migration. That's where we were a bit earlier this morning, but we're with a nice big herd of buffalo, and they're already moving away from us. The buffalo in this area are not used to seeing a lot of cars, so they tend to be a little bit nervy, giving us that evil eye. Some of the individuals, most of them prefer to try and run away from us when we get close to them. Now, we have not seen a single other vehicle today. We are all by ourselves down here. It is wonderful. But our old friend, the Mara wind, is back. So what we're doing now is, there's only about 30,000 or so wildebeest over there. So we're going to head down towards the Tanzanian border now and carry on the border to see if we can find any bigger herds. I feel like seeing a group of at least 100,000. Whoop, bumpity bump. Robert would like to know, has the weather in the Mara improved? Well, it depends on what you define as the weather in the Mara. It hasn't rained so much, but there's been this constant gale force wind, or today it's just starting now. Yesterday was unbelievably beautiful and still and warm, but even though it gets to sort of 25, 26 degrees C during the day, we don't take our jerseys or our long pants off because this cold wind is constantly blowing. So it improved for a day, and now it is windy again. But we actually, for once, wouldn't mind some rain, especially up towards the burn and on these areas where the wildebeest have actually flattened the grass to get a bit of green flush going and bring a lot of those wildebeest that have gone back into Tanzania back into Kenya. So, well, it depends on the weather. Yeah, I'd say the weather from a rain point of view is improved. It's back, and I'd almost rather have rain than this strong wind. So what happens is all that volcanic dust literally gets stuck in your eyes, in your ears, in your nose. So we're going to keep checking these valleys, hoping to find an implausibility of wildebeest. In the meantime, let's go see if Thandi has managed to find Kalamba.
Well, Brent Leo Smith, I think you're the one now making the wildebeest sounds as you search for things because, well, two leopards embroiled in quick succession. That's what happens when you make fun of us. We try harder and then we win. Of course, that's going to get Brent riled up very quickly. I'm just joking with him. And it's amazing to hear Brent saying that they need rain in the Masai Mara, because when I was there, the last thing I would have thought about was a drop of rain. We had rain pretty much every single day, and it was just like the great deluge that happened there and was very difficult to get around. So I can't imagine a dry Masai Mara. In my mind, it just doesn't work because it was so wet the months that I was there. Anyway, I was still with Thandi, still calling, still... No sign of Hosana moving in this direction. Apparently he came down the tree and he's just watching Thandi as she's calling. He's not coming here and being aggressive towards her in any way. And so I don't think this has anything to do with him trying to fight with Thandi. He's pretty sure he doesn't want to actually get anywhere near her. He's scared of her claws and teeth, but he does need to... he wants probably to feed, and maybe he's very hungry today, and that's the difference that has changed his behavior from being submissive and allowing her to come and feed to being very, very, very kind of brave and going towards that tree and actually trying to actually get food for himself. Now, I thought I saw a small leopard just now, but I can't see anything. It's so difficult this morning. You can see the light is very muted, and these leopards with these dark rosettes, especially a small leopard like Tlalamba, is going to be very difficult to spot in all of this if it doesn't want to be seen. I'm hoping with Tandi's calls that eventually Tlalamba decides, well, I'm going to just go towards Mom anyway because she's calling so much and things must be safe. That's what I'm hoping for. But I'm just going to reposition Ferg because, as you can see, we don't have much of a view there. And I'm hoping if I go around this mound, then maybe we'll be able to also see Hosanna from here. Just gonna have to try and get through quite a bit of a thicket first. Where are you, little Tlalamba? I'm sure she's here somewhere. She's just probably very nervous of coming out. It's amazing how it went from absolute eerily quiet morning. There's no real sign of them. They must be here, just doing a few loops. There was no noise. We stopped at the carcass. It was quiet. It didn't sound like anything was going on. And then all of a sudden, a few alarm calling impalas, and we had pandemonium on our hands. So this goes to show you how quick things can change in the bush. Now, if I just go through here and just knock this tree. Just try and squeeze around so that we not right up against where Tandi's sitting. Just try and get around there. How's that, Fergus? Good. I actually quite like this angle too for another reason, because I'm kind of hoping that little Tlalamba comes from behind the mound and all of a sudden we're just going to get this little face popping up behind. It'll be difficult to predict if she's coming, but it would be quite nice. It would be a nice surprise, wouldn't it, if she just came running over the mound to join Mom. But the way that Tandi's kind of looking, it seems as though Tlalamba must be somewhere this side. Indigo Girl, indeed, Hosanna was hungry this morning, and I know the feeling. It can be when you're very hungry, you know, sometimes nothing will stop you from getting to where you want to go. And it's he definitely was persistent in trying to get there. He took a few claws to the head and to the back and to the nose and trying to actually get his meal. When we first saw them, it was amazing because we saw the impalas, as you know, alarm calling, couldn't see anything, and then we were trying to drive kind of roughly to where we thought they might be, and all of a sudden we just saw these two bolts shoot off not far from us, and then they just got into this ball, and there was just claws and teeth and fur and going crazy. And then Hosanna broke off and ran towards the carcass, and then you guys joined us, as you saw, where they were kind of chasing one another towards the trees itself. You can see she's salivating, a very clear indication. When you see a leopard doing this, you know that they have interacted with another individual. They don't do that unless there is a threat or they've become very worked up over the course of a period, and normally that's when there's another leopard around. They don't even do this with lions or wild dogs or anything like that. That's just when they will try and get out of there and flee. When they salivate like this, it's when they are pretty much foaming at the mouth with anger, when they're trying to deal with a very stressful situation, when there's other leopards around. You find when males fight, they really do salivate heavily. There's lots of saliva that flows out. Now, has she spotted little Tlalamba? Her whole demeanor has changed. Oh no, it's Hosanna going up the tree. That's what she's gotten. So she's watching Hosanna going up into the tree itself. Now, what is he doing? Hosanna? He can't decide what he wants to do, whether he wants to be up or down, whether he wants to eat, whether he wants to... Oh, there we go, he's settling in now. Looks quite proud of himself, doesn't he? Hosanna? Have you been a bully this morning? That's okay. He's had a rough couple of weeks in terms of being bullied off his kills, so it's not... He does deserve it. Everyone has stolen his kills, you're right, Louise, and so he does deserve to, I suppose, look proud about actually getting a job done for himself for once and actually getting the food he needs. Now, he's staring straight at Tandi, and Tandi's staring at him. She's not impressed at all. His look is of a goofy cat who has just stolen a kill, where her look is one of absolute scorn. She is not impressed by Hosanna taking her kill. Now she's just calling her cub. She doesn't look happy, does she? I'm not surprised, to be honest.
I also wouldn't be happy if my hard-earned meal was stolen. We actually found the head of the impala trying to look for these two this morning. We drove quite far and I just found the head just sitting there and the horns coming out. It is a big male impala she killed. The horns are massive, and I actually think the reason the carcass looks the way it does is that she lost some of it to hyenas, because the way that that head has been eaten is very much how hyenas would eat, and we know that there's no hyenas here yesterday, no hyenas this morning, and that means that I think she must have had a fight with hyenas on the first day, and maybe they got away with some with the rest up into the tree, because there is a lot there that she, hasn't been eaten, and I mean a lot that had been eaten already yesterday morning. And given that both Kalamba and Tandi weren't hugely full, and we had tracked them the day before, not in this area, so I don't think they've been sitting on this carcass for too long. Although it would be interesting if that was the case, because I would be surprised that hyenas hadn't lurked around. Normally if they find a carcass, then they stick around for quite some time as they do it. But she is not enthralled at Hosanna eating her meal. There we go. And he is tucking in to the best of his ability right now. I'm pretty sure he'll feed as much as he can and then he'll go and lie down. Susan, it's difficult to say. I mean, generally not too far. Normally when you see little cubs run, and in my experience when I've seen them, they don't run that far. They just run to the nearest point where they think they can be safe. So if that's a tree, a thicket, they run to there and then they wait and they hope that mom calls them from there. Now, I see Hosanna's watching, Tandi's watching, but they're not actually looking at each other. Maybe he's just listening to her calls. But I don't think she would have gone. She just ran fairly close, and just looking at Tandi's reactions. She's almost looking down a little bit. Where are you, little Kalamba? She's no longer really looking at Hosanna. I mean, she's looking in that direction, but not at him directly. You see her face is just twisted slightly. And Hosanna briefly also looked up in the same direction Tandi was looking. What's interesting is that her calls are not very loud just yet. She's not getting too vocal. I've seen some females, when they lost their cubs or when they've had an interaction like this, they'll actually use a full-blooded saw to try and get their cubs to come back to them, and they get very kind of intense with their calling. She's still quite relaxed at this stage, and she's still got those very soft calls that she's making, trying to get little Kalamba to come back. Wow. Dynamics of our leopards in the last year and a half has just been insane. It's been very difficult in some respects to keep up with it, but it's also just been amazing to watch what's been going on. To have all of the things that we've been seeing playing out within this family has been absolutely insane. Alright, well, Tandi is gazing upon the bush to the east at the moment. Hopefully Kalamba is going to make an appearance at some point. It would be really nice if we could see the reunion between the two of them like we did yesterday. But in the meantime, let's send you back to Jamie.
Admittedly, the ear is not quite as exciting as the leopard dramatics, but it's the anticipation of what the ear is hiding. I've just realized, actually, I've made the massive leap here of saying that this is Waffles' ear. However, I have spent so much time staring at the tops of her ears that I'm almost certain that it's her ear. In fact, I'd be willing to put money on it. And just to clarify, although Waffles does have a tracking collar, we are not using it. So it's not a GPS collar, it is a radio frequency collar. So when I say it's hard to find the natal den, it requires something a little bit more old-fashioned in the form of many hours. Searching for her, trying to find her, looking for the rest of the clan, hoping she's there, and eventually having a chance to follow her. And in the end, it was entirely accidental. But when we did, this little face came out, and it was in the middle of the day, so the sun was very bright, and it was all sort of squinting into the light. It was adorable. Liz, you want to know how many clans of hyena there are around the Mara Triangle? I would say at least 5. Obviously, we know pretty much the exact, pretty much the exact territories that 3 of the researched clans cover: North Clan, South Clan, and Happy Zebra Clan. Then there's the Olololo clan towards our campsite. Then there is the Ngirare Pride clan towards the southern boundary with Tanzania. Then there's another one towards the Salt Lick-ish, but on the other side of the Happy Zebra territory. And then there's Happy Valley. How many was that? Was that 7? It was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 that we know of for certain that are different, distinct clans. It's tricky because when they're not researched, we obviously don't spend much time with the fringe clans, so we don't actually 100% know. Goodness, this is why Manu and myself depart exceptionally early in the morning to come down here, because it's usually when they're at their most active. Come on, little one. Michael, you want to know if this cub is female, which of course is completely unknown at this stage, whether or not it would be next in line for the matriarchy, and yes, it would be if it survives. The interesting thing is that even if it were male, it would still be higher ranked than Soup. So any cub inherits its status from its mother. If she had 2 cubs and one were male and one were female, the female one would be a little bit more dominant than the male. But up until the birth of this little bundle of joy, the highest ranked hyena after Waffles was Hershey, her son, her youngest son. He now shifts down a slot, as does his older brother Ferg behind him, and then Soup falls in. The reason that we don't typically talk about males being or inheriting the matriarchy is, well, the clue's in the name. They tend to disperse at around about 2 or 3 years old, which is what Hershey and Ferg will do. And if this cub is a male, most likely will do. But it gets really confusing. It is possible for males to be the most dominant member in the clan. Rare, but possible. And there, I suppose, is a small chance that if, for example, Waffles were to die before this cub, male, if it were male, were to disperse, there is a small chance that it might just become the head of the clan anyway. I doubt it, though. Just to give you an idea of where we are, the communal den, since we've only got an ear, so I might as well show you, the communal den where we first started following North Clan, where Taylor and Ralph spent all that time with them, is there. They're no longer at that den. There's the tree. Just past the tree is the old communal den. So they're really actually quite close. Now the clans actually moved behind me now. They're probably about a mile or so behind me. And this natal den is smack bang in the middle. And that unknown female, who I'm pretty certain is Fuzzy, but she was so covered in mud I couldn't tell. I suspect that's where she's gone. She's gone there to wait until Waffles gets bored here and gets tired of being bitten and nibbled, because that cub's starting to use its teeth now. And she's moved away. This is why I wanted to be here when Waffles got back. We just got unlucky this morning. We didn't make the wrong choices. We made the most logical choices. They just happened to be wrong. Manu, what do you think? You've stared at Waffles' ear as often as I have. That's Waffles' ear. That's Big W. We're going to sit and wait patiently for Little Syrup. I'm sure it'll be worth it. I hope it'll be worth it. Let's go and join Steve, who's also been patient with the Nkuhumas.
We are, thank you, Jamie. And the Lions have done absolutely nothing since you were last with us, so you have not missed anything. An action-packed morning it has been, though. Tristan and Thandi and Hosanna, how magical is that? I was trying to go back on YouTube just now to see, but I'm not getting the best signal in the area I am. But anyway, we're hoping these lions are going to get up and move. It is nice and cool. There's just no wind. No wind what to speak of. So if it starts to pick up the wind, I'm sure these lions will move off and go and see what is out and about on the hunting front. They definitely are hungry. They've got something in their belly, but it's not very full. Tom, it's possible. They could have interacted with Thandi and Tlama. We're not sure exactly where they came from. They just materialized at the dam camp. So they came from the side, and Thandi and Kalamba are there. Let me show you on the map so you can see where we are now. Here is the watering hole. So they just materialized over there. Thandi and Kalamba and Hosana are over here somewhere, and we are now sitting right over there. So we followed them all the way down south like this, and they're sitting just there. It's possible they could have come in and interacted with Thandi in some way and then come back down, because the lions we found were coming in from this angle. So it's very likely they would have possibly smelt what's going on there, maybe heard hyena in the area. I'm not sure, but it is very likely they could have moved through that area. But I don't think, as you can tell, they didn't steal her kill. That was left for the little chief to steal, getting his own back, I guess, from everything everyone else steals from him. But anyway, back over to our flat cats. Don't forget, folks, this is Interactive Safari. Send through your questions, hashtag SafariLive. Follow us on YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to talk about this morning. Country, well, we were here with the lions while that was going on, and they didn't show any sign of hearing what's going on. It's probably a good 1.5 kilometers away from here, so about a mile, half a mile. So it's quite a distance, you know. I didn't hear anything. They didn't pick their ears up at all. So no, it's unlikely. If they did hear, they didn't show any interest at all. And their ears are very tuned in. Okay, well, it seems like the little chief is trying to reposition his breakfast. Let's go have a look.
He has already repositioned his breakfast. He's now put it on the ground where he is now going to probably feed off it. Thandi is still sitting behind us on a termite mound. She's not moving at all, just kind of watching the goings on. But Hosana has definitely moved things down onto the ground for a bit more comfort. It was not easy for where he was sitting for his bulk and size. One thing for a female leopard to feed there, but another thing altogether for a bigger male, should I say. He's not a big male yet. He's getting there, but not quite the big boys, or not able to play with the big boys just yet. We can't label him as a big male for now. We'll get there eventually, but it's going to take a few years still. But it's interesting listening now. I can't hear Thandi calling anymore, so she's not sort of calling too much. I wonder if she maybe caught sight of little Kalamba and knows she's safe, and so she's just kind of keeping quiet now. She's sitting right on that side of us. You can see we kind of parked between the two of them at the moment. Now, right, while we've been watching leopards interact this morning, it seems like Jamie's now got a bit of hyena interaction in the Masai Mara, and I wonder who Waffles is engaging with currently.
Look, look, look. Here comes this other female. Waffles is up. She's growling. Hello. Oh, it's not this other female. No, it is. Listen. Oh, shame. She's so desperate to get into the den. Waffles is half the size she used to be. I don't know who this female is. I'll double check. I don't want to make a mistake. I still think it's fuzzy, but I'm not certain. So I think what happened is that this female gave birth here, and Waffles decided she liked it. It's okay, Big W, come on. You're the one who moved your cub here, I'm certain of it. Be nice. So typically, this behavior of the young mother would actually be considered to be quite cheeky. She's moaning around the entrance to the den. She's not quite fully submitting to Waffles, and that's just because she really wants to get to the entrance. She just came back to check, though. She's not going to push her luck. I think she just came back to check and see if Waffles had left yet. She hasn't? and so she's going to have to wait some more. I really hope her cubs are alive. Certain female hyena have a reputation for being exceedingly unpleasant to low-ranking individuals and their cubs. Waffles doesn't have that reputation. Now, the question is, as this hyena wanders off, she's going to go back to the old den. I think that's where she's resting. Oh no, she's not. She's going that way. The question is whether or not Waffles will bring it out now. Carol, low-ranking hyenas have been known to kill higher-ranking cubs. I don't necessarily think that it is to raise its ranking, but you never know. Hyenas are intelligent enough to, in my mind, to plot something like that. It's very, very rare, though, because they run an enormous risk in doing so. They risk not only the wrath of the mother, but her entire family as well, her daughters, and they, of course, will be high-ranking. Come on. Come on. You know you're brave enough to come out now. Mom's gonna fetch it. I just feel it. We're gonna get payoff for patience. Come on, girl. Well, at least we were right about it being the top of her ear. Rima, this sort of takes us onto quite a similar line, quite a similar topic. Will Waffles feed cubs that are not her own? No, she won't. She's high-ranking, and hyenas... Having said that, you never say never in the hyena world, and there are recorded cases. Hold on. I'll finish that sentence in a second. This generally means we get to see the cub when Waffles does this. Sticks her head in, brings it out. Low-ranking hyenas sometimes have the cubs of high-ranking hyenas suckling from them whether they like it or not. They're very uncomfortable with it. Come on. Come on, you syrup. Come on, you syrup with a big voice. Waffles, you are breaking my heart. This is pretty much how Manu and my day goes. We put in hours, not that I'm complaining, for seconds of view. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Or not. PW, I know I've asked a lot of you, and I know you timed your birth really well. But as much as I appreciate that you've improved our view to 2 ears from 1 ear, that's not exactly why we came. Just hold on a few seconds. She's gone to wake that cub up. Let it know that everything's okay now. Oh well. We still granted this privilege. Sometimes it takes a little while to wake up. Still a baby. The reason I might actually, because we've seen the cub a few times, and of course you'll have to tune in on Saturday to see what we've seen over the past few days. I might actually have left the den and gone in search of the rest of the clan. The reason that I haven't is I do want to see how this scenario plays out, with, especially if Waffles gets tired of monitoring this cub for now, and she moves away. I want to see if the second female comes back. Oh. The roller coaster of emotions of sitting at Waffles' den. I can hear it. I can hear it squeaking. Ten more seconds. Alright, I promise you we'll grab you right back here if the cub pops its head out. But for now, since we can only see the top of Waffles' somewhat bald head, let's go and rejoin Tanti.
Well, good luck, Jamie. I'm hoping that that little one comes out for you. I know you've spent so much time there that it's always a joy for Jamie to be able to see that little one. I'm sure Jamie almost feels, in part, a sort of, what would you call it? A godmother? No. What is it? When you have midwife, there we go, midwife, to Waffles, and has kind of helped with being there through all of it, and to see that little one as tiny as it was when Jamie first saw it is quite special. Tandy's still watching Hosanna with daggers in her eyes and still calling. She's kind of been around the mound a little bit, just checking, but so far no sign of little Tlalamba. Now we know Tlalamba doesn't listen at the best of times, and even when there's nothing else going on, she's stubborn and doesn't come that quickly to Mom. So, with a bit of a ruckus like this morning, I'm not surprised that it's taking this long for her to start coming back towards Mom. She doesn't want to really come back here, but Mom constantly calling is going to eventually drive her to come back and hopefully rejoin with Tandy. She's kind of facing the area where we started at the moment, so she's looking in that direction. She's looking pretty much all over the place at the moment, and I don't think she 100% knows where Tlalamba's gone, but she's very clever. The way that she's sitting high up like this, I mean, she's exposing herself quite a bit and is calling, and so no matter where Tlalamba is, Tlalamba will be able to spot her from a long way away. So she knows then which way is a safe path to walk towards her. She wouldn't call the cub if she didn't think there was a safe point that she could get to. So she's calling her to a point of safety, and that's hopefully going to be good news for us, and that the little one will come. Like I say, she's not incessant at the moment. She's not going crazy. If maybe Tlalamba had been attacked, I think she would have been a lot more kind of vocal and a lot more up and down and pacey than what she is right now. She's just kind of watching Hosanna, but is also calling at the same time, as if to say, Tlalamba, let's go. Your younger brother, well, it would be Tlalamba's older brother, but her younger brother, which is weird in many ways. Anyway, the convoluted complication that is this family, but she's basically saying that, come back here, let's get together, and then we'll go. I must be honest, though, it is one of my favorite sounds to hear when a leopard chuffs. It's the best sound for me. Because normally it's doing a female leopard and then finding her with cubs, and especially when you see tiny little cubs, it's always a very special experience. And she's still chuffing a little bit now. Tlalamba, where are you? Stop making your mother stress. Trying to scan the bush, hoping she'll just appear. Irene, in this instance, yes, she probably could smell her mother, but she's going to be relying more on her hearing than anything else. Smelling of her mom would be all over the place here. I mean, the scent of Tandy will be everywhere. They've been here for 2 days now, and so there's going to be smell every single area. There's going to be... Her following smell could lead her right towards Hosanna. So following her sense of smell is not a good idea in this case. I mean, she could use it, and she probably would be able to find it eventually, but listening is going to be her best bet, because Tandy's giving a very, very big beacon to herself to say, I'm here, come to me where I am, rather than Tlalamba going around in circles where Tandy's walked and trying to track down exactly where she's gone. I'm pretty sure that this cub is going to come out. Whether it's going to come out while we're here this morning, I don't know. It might also be a little nervous of cars and just general disturbance after this morning's proceedings, but we'll see. I know that she doesn't listen much, and so hopefully these calls are getting quite loud now. Of course, every time I stop speaking, she stops calling. So Mr. Zero, no, the leopards are very good at hearing, and they will be able to identify which one is Mom's call and which one isn't. Also, very few leopards, well, Tandy in particular, would allow another female to be calling in this area, because as soon as she heard that, she would be there like a shot, and so then Tlalamba would know, wait, something is not right. So they recognize their own voice. It's like if you recognize your I don't know if you have children or your parents' voice, his voices very well, and it's the same thing with Tandy and Tlalamba. Tlalamba will know Tandi's contact call. Remember, since she's been a tiny, tiny little baby, before she even had her eyes open, she's been hearing Tandi calling her and chuffing at her, and so it's basically she's recognized exactly what Mom's voice is. Well, this is a good sign that Tandi's at least moving now. I wonder if she's going to now go to the next point and start calling. Just trying to see. I thought maybe for a second there she maybe spotted Kalamba, and that's why she's actually going to move, but let's see. She's kind of looking around, still calling. And where she's going is where I would have guessed Kalamba to have gone, and where I last heard the impala's alarm call. And the reason why I would have guessed this is where she's gone is because that's towards the drainage line and to the thickest area that we have in this particular section. And the thicker it is, the better for her, because the little cub knows that its best defense is its spotted coat, and that means it can then hide away very easily around here. Now she's just moving a little bit. Just trying to see where Hosanna is. Hosanna's still at the back at this stage, so he's not moved either. She's going towards Hosanna now. Alright, let's just try and keep up with her. We're going to have to try and reposition ourselves, because otherwise we're going to lose her fairly quickly. So it should be okay just to get around. We don't have too much of a stress with thickets. Just trying to see, no sign of Hosanna there. I think Hosanna's still on the ground, still busy feeding. Tandi, she's going down towards the drainage. She's checking all the trees as well. It's quite interesting to watch her go about this, because we know that cubs often will use trees as a point of safety when they are chased, and so, or if there's any danger around it. So she's checking actually up in the trees. She's looking just to see, hang on, is my little one in one of these trees somewhere around here? But it looks, in all intents and purposes, she's going to move away from this kill and maybe start calling a little bit more. Shame, girl. Still calling a lot. Okay, well, we'll keep following her. We'll keep an eye out. If any sign of Kalamba, we'll come straight back. But in the meantime, let's send you back across to Steve and the sleepy Nkuhuma Pride.
Well, this one is not sleepy. This one is woken up and is starting to do some more grooming. There's one of the youngsters. Didn't anticipate this one to be getting up and leading the pride off on a foraging sort of foray. But let's hope Tristan finds a little Kalamba. Tandi seems to be calling quite vigorously for her. I wonder where she is. No doubt she heard the interaction between Hosanna and her mother. An instinct would have told her to stay away from that sort of encounter. Young leopard cubs are always at risk with new males, even though her uncle Hosanna, well, we don't know what he will do we? There's the question on everyone's mind, what will the little chief do? It is well known that not just male leopards but male lions kill cubs. Hopefully that's not the case there, but instinctively inside, Kalamba knows that something's amiss, and she's probably keeping well clear. So Tandi's going to go off and pick her up somewhere, and then they're going to go off and find some more breakfast. An always hungry little Kalamba. Well, these lions hopefully are going to get up soon. We're going to see what happens. And in the meantime, let's go up to Brent Leo Smith, who is not with the herds. He's with a lone wildebeest.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to show you something, and if you are a bit sensitive, possibly, I'm just going to warn you ahead. There's a lone wildebeest here that has broken its front right leg. There's no predators around at the moment, but it can be quite disturbing, so just be warned. Hi, poor gnu. And probably from a crossing or even trying to escape from lions at a certain point, you can see there the front right leg is completely broken through, and she's all on her own out here. Shame. She can't put any weight whatsoever, and the rest of the moving herds have left her behind. So shame, poor Vildy. Hopefully, for her sake, a predator finds her quite quickly. Okay, we're gonna keep moving. It is quite a sad sight. We've been looking for the big herds of wildies. We haven't really found any yet. We found another herd of about 20,000 behind us there. And we're now heading towards Miles Turner Hill. Now that's where Kekenya was denning. Oh, quickly across to a crossing. Sorry, not to a crossing. Back to Brent. Sorry, it seems like there's a bit of a tech thing going on. We'll let our wonderful tech department sort it out. So we're heading along here, and what's incredible is last year at this time, this area was a wall-to-wall wildebeest, but with all the rain this year, it's quite different. So trying to figure out what the wildies are doing, it's a little bit tougher this year. And that's the great thing about spending lots of time in these areas. So this is only our second migration season, and more maybe we'll have a better idea. But the one thing I do adore about Mother Nature, as soon as you think you've got something figured out, she throws you a curveball. Oppa! So we're very close to the border of Tanzania now, and there was those big herds that came through here have all just vanished. So while I try find 1.7 million wildebeest in about 1 trillion pieces of grass, let's go back to Steve and the Nkohumas.
So, Brent, where have the wildebeest gone? Where have they gone indeed? I've no doubt the lions and the predators will be searching after them, but picking off that lone injured wildebeest will be primary for them, wouldn't it? Well, we've still got these Nkohumas, the kings of slumber in the early morning. We're willing them with all of our might to get up and move, because it is still quite cool. It is perfect idea conditions to be moving, but inside up the need to move. They probably aren't starving. Their bellies don't look empty, but they're not as full as we've seen them before in the past. And there's only action happening from one individual. As you saw before, there's the young male in amongst it. Beautiful boy. He's getting more and more scratches on his face as he gets more and more competitive at the feeding time. And it's very hard to identify or to keep an identification record for young males, because they get so many more scratches as they get older. Constantly in there in the thick of things when it comes to feeding, as they, from a size perspective, outcompete their sisters and are slowly starting to outcompete the adult lioness. There we go. Is it time for a yawn? And a little bit of a fur ball. Something's caught in her throat. There's between a sneeze and a cough there. Blake, the Evoca boys have been north in Buffelshoek. They apparently chased the Nkohumas off of a buffalo the other day. That is the reports that we heard. But it also could have been another pride of lions. We have no idea. None of us were up there to see it, so we can only go by what we've heard. James doesn't seem to think it was the Nkohumas that were chased off. And looking at these individuals, they don't look like they've been on a buffalo. And if they did, they didn't get too much of it. But the Evocas are in the north, somewhere in Buffelshoek, Manyeleti. I'm not sure exactly. We don't get to see. We can only hear little inklings of it on the wire from time to time when we're out on game drive. Hopefully they'll be coming down again. It's been quite some time since they popped in to this area. Well, we're going to stay here with these very sleepy cats, and in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and see how Tandy's getting along on her search for the little one.
Well, Tandy has now gotten herself very close. She's not far at all. She's now on a nice fallen over branch, looking as regal as ever. And Hosanna is just feeding at the base of the tree. He's not doing much. She's still calling, no sign of Tlalamba yet. But the fact that she's calling this close to Hosanna is quite interesting, because she's almost like talking to her cub to come closer, even though there's this young male around. So it's interesting behavior. Normally you wouldn't see this. Normally a female would go away from the male, call that cub away from that area and move off very quickly. But she doesn't seem to be too fazed by the fact that Hosanna is around, and that, you know, in likelihood, if she keeps calling, that the cub arrives, that he's in close proximity to where they are, which is very interesting. He's really going to town on the impala, though. All I can hear is crunching out of the sort of right side of where we are, but he's hidden himself in a little thicket, so it's very difficult to actually see him now. But he's definitely relishing the fact that he's getting some food, which is, I suppose, good for him. It'd be interesting to know. I wonder how many carcasses he's stolen before, whether or not he's, you know, gone in and done this to Tandy in the last few weeks without us even knowing. I suppose it is possible, but, you know, every bit of evidence we've seen, she unfortunately has done what he's done to her, she's done to him. There, she's bolted upright. Has she seen the little cub now? I don't know. She kind of looked very, very kind of alert there for a second. Isn't that beautiful, though, on that fallen over stump? Shame, my girl. Are you still calling? Sure, little somewhere. It's going to be a long morning for Tandy, I'm afraid, as she probably stresses trying to find this little one. And the problem with Tlalamba is, unlike a lot of other cubs, and especially lion cubs, which is quite interesting, leopard and lions are a little different in this regard. Lion cubs are very vocal. They'll actually call back, they'll talk, they'll make a lot of noise, and some leopard cubs will respond. I remember with Tiani and Salayesh, if Salayesh made one squeak, Tiani was squeaking back at her, and the two would join quite quickly. But with Tlalamba, I've not heard her call back to her mom once in all the times we followed her. Never heard her. I mean, they make a bit of sound when they're together, but not actually respond to her when Tandy is calling. No, so Carol, when they call like this, it's to come. She's chuffing, she's calling. That's the way that they talk to their cub, to come to her. She would rather have her cub where she can see her and right next to her where she can defend it, than it's just wandering around here and potentially being lost and by itself. So she won't be telling the cub to go away, because then trying to find the cub is going to become infinitely harder later. Much better for her to be where she cub comes to her, they reunite, and then she can tackle whatever threat they face head on, and she can keep the cub safe under her own terms, rather than her cub having to keep herself safe and her being away from it. So it won't be telling her to stay away, it's telling her to come closer. It's just interesting she's doing it so close to Hosanna. I think she realizes Hosanna's not that big a threat. If this was a different kind of male that she had never encountered, I think the attitude and the way that she was going about it would be very, very different right now. Isn't that beautiful, though? Shame, my girl. It's been a busy morning for you. One thing you cannot fault Tandy on is her commitment to keep not only herself but Tlalamba safe. The way that she was going after Hosanna at very, very big risk to her. I mean, Hosanna, given that he is much bigger, you could see the size difference between the two of them, could easily pin her down and do some damage quite quickly. But yet she was still incessant on just trying to keep him at bay and trying to show him that she's not afraid of him, which is amazing. The mother instinct that leopards have, or any cats, I suppose, and most of the wild animals, is pretty insane. It's amazing to actually witness how they... Right, well, we're talking about mothers, and we're talking about motherly instincts, and Jamie is not a mother, but is sitting with a very proud mother of the North Clan up in the Masai Mara.
A mum of our own that is really quite sleepy this morning. We live in perpetual hope, though. We really do. At some point, the cub's going to finish having breakfast and start exploring. My one worry about today, and we've only had about a 2-day grace period, it's in the Mara at the moment. The wind is blustery, and all of a sudden my hat flew off a few moments ago. So I think that might keep the cub inside. It's still a little young and it's still a little nervous of the world around it. What's going to be interesting, I think, for now, it's showing absolutely no sign of fear of us. Waffles is entirely comfortable with us, which is why I've been relaxed with us sitting for long periods with her. It'll be interesting once the cub starts to register properly what's going on around it. At the moment, it's just taking its behavioral cues and not really straying all that far from the entrance. It'll be interesting to see how it responds to us, because we've been with it since it was a week old. So it's become accustomed to our voice, the sound of our vehicle moving in and out. We give plenty of space. We obviously don't park on top of the den, even if that means that we can't see. It'll be interesting to see. I think this cub is going to end up being the most comfortable hyena cub ever with vehicles, which is saying something, because hyena cubs are not afraid of vehicles. I don't think Waffles will move this cub now that the den is known. I don't think she moved the den previously because it was known either. She's perfectly comfortable with us. I suspect that she moved it because, well, she found another female with a cub of around about, I assume, a similar age, and she just thought, well, this will work. I've got double protection for the little one, and that's why she decided to move. So no, she won't. Bear in mind that Waffles has raised several litters of cubs with the researchers in tow, so she knows the whole deal. She's not uncomfortable with us. They're certainly very careful about following. We don't speak loudly, obviously. We don't make loud noises. We don't eat when we're sitting next to the den, at least nothing that is very pungent food. We might snack on some nuts, but that's it. We definitely, obviously, we're out here for a few hours. We move. My standard rule is at least 500 to 600 meters away from the den before, we answer calls of nature, so that she doesn't have to worry about the scent of humans building up around her den. And she's not worried by the sound of the vehicle. At the moment, we are the only people visiting her along with the researchers, and we rotate. So if the researchers say that they're coming to visit Waffles, we'll stay away. We'll go and visit the rest of the clan, perhaps. Manu's just raised an interesting point in this wind on a different subject about how good Waffles' hearing is. The wind is howling, and that other female came from downwind, and she heard it. From way away. Way away. Shamsun, no, I don't think that Waffles would kill another female's cubs, steal a den. She doesn't need to steal a den. She just takes the den. It's not really stealing so much as she just moves in. And the other female absolutely cannot argue with her. If it were the other way around, that other female would never dare to attempt to move her cubs in with Waffles. But Waffles has been known to do this before, from what I've read. In sort of previous accounts of her years ago, she'd just go and sort of move in with a lower ranking female and move her cubs in. Never once in any way hurting those cubs, and in fact even taking responsibility, taking them on a walk and taking them home safely afterwards. These cubs are a little bit too young to go on a walk or a little expedition, but they do that. So no, I don't think she would kill a cub to steal the den. She might kill a cub if it did something wrong, if something triggered an instinct within her that suggested it would be a threat to her cub. I don't think she has, if I had to guess, I don't think she has killed that other female's cubs. I think they're safely in there. I think the only thing that she's doing at the moment, which is a bit concerning, is restricting that to her cubs. But it's only a matter of time before Waffles gets up and moves off. She will get tired of a suckling, biting cub. She'll leave it. That's why hyenas, one of the reasons why hyenas have den sites. They can leave their cubs safely and carry on with their day-to-day business. So I don't think she would kill to steal the den. I think she deliberately moved here because there was company. Essentially, It is, I mean, it's all guesswork on my, I feel, having spent so much time with him. Now, although we reserve hope that this cub is going to come out, it's starting to look unlikely. However, I'm sure you all are desperately wondering whether or not Thandi has reunited with her little girl.
No, nothing as yet, Jamie. Unfortunately, it seems as though we're still going to be kept waiting for quite some time. And you were talking about figuring things out and how difficult it is up there with hyenas. It seems to be the same down here with our leopard dynamic at the moment. It's unusual in every aspect. She's now walked pretty much, I'd say she's about maybe 50 meters from where Hosanna is. She's just scent marked right in front of him while looking straight, gun barrel at him, or gun barrel straight, should I say, at him. So he didn't care too much at all. You can see him, he's on the right of me, and he's basically just feeding off the last of that impala. I think he's pretty much hoovered down most of it. I don't think there's very much left anymore, unfortunately, for Thandi. If she was hoping to get more, she's going to get nothing, I'm afraid. We know that Hosanna can put away quite a bit, but anyway, she's still watching, looking, and she seems to be fairly relaxed, though. She didn't even worry about us as she walked right past the car and didn't even glance at us, which is unusual for Thandi. She normally kind of gives this look and a bit of a snarl when she walks very close, but she didn't do that today. Now, Lou, if you can just repeat the name for me. Sorry, I missed the name. So, Goddess, how long she'll call for? Well, it depends on how long it takes for Tlalamba to come back. And it's one of those. She'll just keep calling and calling and calling until such time makes an appearance and actually joins her once again. But, you know, she's not going to stop calling until she finds her cub, if she thinks the cub is still alive. So she will call. Sometimes you see leopards, when they've lost their cub, will call 3, 4, 5, 6 days incessantly trying to find them. So she'll just keep calling and calling and calling until such time as she reconnects with her cub. So it's going to be a long morning for her. Hopefully her child decides to actually respond at some point and come back to her, because that will ease her mind. Even if she can see Tlalamba, she'll be better off. She'll just kind of see her in the distance. You can see she's now just going to settle down off the edge of the frame there and just kind of try and take it very, very easy. Right, well, I wonder where Tlalamba is. I think she must have run towards the drainage. I can't think of anywhere else that she would have gone. I suppose it's in the chaos of what happens, and when that little cub hears all these noises, you know, they get scared and they could run in any direction, really, and who knows how far little Tlalamba ran. It's interesting on different sort of individuals, because some will be far braver than others. I remember once seeing Tiana, I think it was with Salahesh and another female. They were kind of going at it, and Tiani didn't run at all, whereas, you know, you can see with Thandi, Tlalamba seems to have gone quite far. All right, well, we're going to sit here. We'll be patient. We'll be here for until such time as Tlalamba arrives, and in the meantime, let's send you back across to Steve, who's, well, with the Nkuhuma Pride that are all together and not having to worry about such dramas.
Yes, well, no change from this side. Very interesting indeed how Thandi is calling for her cub so close on. I find that very interesting behavior. Very, very interesting indeed. You would think she would try and keep her cub away, but maybe she knows Hosanna well enough. Who actually knows? They have been seen together. He hasn't shown any sort of negative behavior towards the youngster. But seeing as he's got the food there, he's got no issues. A little breakfast snack. And this is the same lioness we have grooming there. She just turned around. Apart from one other lioness grooming, the rest of them are still very, very flat. I've only counted 10 though. I'm thinking there might still be one on the other side there where we can't see. She is alert. Still no wind. Very still morning. Hello, I Love Snacks. That is such an interesting name. Well, the youngsters, let me just double check on the youngsters are 17, 18 months now. The adults, so the oldest lioness was born in 2007, so that makes her 11 years old. One of the females was born in 2012. It's hard for me to point them out to you now because none of them are really showing themselves. There's another one, two born in 2012. Amber Eyes, who is in the middle, born in 2013. And then the youngest adult lioness is 2014. So 4 years, 5 years, and then the youngsters are just under 2 at the moment. You can see in size comparison when they're moving. But that young, that's a youngster there, about 15, 16 months old. And the young male who's just in the front of the picture there, he's the same age, but his size, because he's a male, is far bigger than the females. That's why he's so much more competitive. Oh, that's a stretch. Oh, you want to go scratch the chin, but that would be the end of your wrist, the end of your entire arm, actually. Very, very powerful cat. Rush is back. Hello, good morning. You want to know what my favorite thing about lions is? Well, sure. I just love spending time with lions. I love it when they stalk each other and play. We spend time with Tundi and Columbo, and we get the youngster stalking her mom quite regularly. But with lions, we were following them earlier, and every single time one moved, go down in the crouch position, stalk, pounce, and catch the other one. It was very funny to see, and they will do that again and again. I was with Dave a few months ago in the river, and we had the Nkuhumas in the early afternoon. I think it was back in March, and they were playing and playing and playing for the longest time. They had the little youngster there at the time who was about 7, 8 months. She was really, really little. She has since passed away, and she was getting the brunt of it all. But then she started assisting individuals, stalking other individuals, and she would come in as a number 2. So as one, she would come in and pounce and tackle the one from the back. I love when they are playful. When lions are playful, they are an enormous amount of fun. I didn't know they ate wood, but this one quite enjoys wood, as you can see. A little bit of a nick on the top of the lip there, no doubt from feeding, with all of the scratches on the face. And the head is down again. A little bit, yes, Lou, you're right. All sorts of smells going on. This one has still got a lot of energy, wants to get up and play, but no one wants to play with it. So it'll play with its own little tree. Another lioness to the right has got her head up. I wonder if she can spot something. They've got very good senses. They know what's going on from a distance. There we go. She's up. Thicket there. I'm sorry that she's so camouflaged behind this very small bush. She's giving her belly a scratch. And as soon as they start moving, it's quite incredible how quickly the rest of the pride can get up and move. But I've got a good feeling she's going to just continue scratching a bit, and then she's going to puddle down in with the rest of them. Not too much going on in the way of hunting this morning from the Nkuhuma pride. We were hoping they were. They were so active earlier. We thought we were in for an amazing... The way it works, you never know what could happen. For example, that time I spent with them when they had already killed a warthog, fought over the warthog, and then we followed them. And then a warthog materialized once again, and they smashed it, even though they weren't hungry. She's going to fall down right in the midst of it. Look at that. She's got an abscess on her bottom. Is that an abscess? Oh, there we go. She wants some cleaning. Lick my head, please. There we go. Isn't that just love? Oh. the social behavior of lions is what sets them apart from the rest of the cats out there. You get to see them stalking and cleaning, and when they fight and kill, it's quite incredible the violence that takes place during that. But it's all part and parcel of being a lion. If you don't fight and compete, you don't become strong. Yes, Julie, a snuggle of lions indeed. A little bit of a licking on the back. That's a very important place to clean. You can see that she's enjoying it. She's licking her lips. So this allo grooming that takes place after feeding is very important to reaffirm bonds that might get a little bit frayed during the feeding time, because it's each for their own when there's an animal to be eaten, and they claw, scratch and bite each other quite viciously. You wouldn't think that they were friendly or related the way that they behave. But then they spend hours afterwards reaffirming themselves. Okay, well, maybe these lions are going to get up and move. There seems to have been a bit more energy. An animal that is probably moving around and doing stuff all the way back up in the Masai Mara. Jamie has got her North Clan.
I share those sentiments. Maybe our hyena will get up and move. The second female is tucked away behind those bushes, sheltering from the wind. She's just come back in again. This time Waffles hasn't picked up on her approach. I don't know if she's actually sleeping now behind those bushes or if she's still trying to come this way. Oh, goodness. I see there's somebody else coming as well. Is out for the count. I think the cub... Last chance, Waffles. Come on, last chance. Oh, now the light is really fighting Manu here as well. It's shining from directly behind the den, but this is the only place that we can go and that we can see into it. I don't think we're going to get lucky here, unfortunately. It's okay. We'll try again. Not this afternoon. We'll try again tomorrow morning. That's what we'll do. Elena, usually hyenas will adopt or sort of take over, not necessarily kicking out occupants, but take over from the holes of warthogs, aardvarks, their burrows. So they don't usually dig them themselves. They will do a little bit of work excavating them. What they've done over the years with this particular den, and I think this den's been used in the past, is they have excavated around the entrance so that there's a place for Mom to lie down in the shade without having to get up and move. She's also invisible. And the cubs will also excavate a little bit within the burrow system themselves. So they'll build themselves little shelves, little tunnels, places where they can escape where nothing bigger than they are can actually reach them. It's one of the reasons why the natal den will be slightly different from the communal den. They might use a communal den, but essentially they keep them separate because there's some nice secret small tunnels for tiny little cubs, whereas at the communal den at the moment it's full of hyenas between 8 months and 12 months old, so almost a year, and their tunnels are bigger. Sheep coming out again. This den is close to a road, hence why you're seeing other vehicles move past. It's invisible from the road though, so we're going to keep looking at this female. Well, this bush, actually. Hiding there. No, she's not going. I don't think we're going to get lucky this morning, unfortunately. It was worth a try, it was worth the patience, but I think the wind has changed everything. Oh, didn't pay off this morning, but that's alright. Let's go and find out if Steve's did.
Well, we are definitely still waiting. One lioness got up, and that's always what happens. One gets up, and then the rest start to move. But she moved off about 3-4 meters and then plomped herself down in the grass. But the others are like, "Ooh, hang on, what's going on? Are we moving? Are we moving?" This could begin the movement. Then he takes one. She's looking at Mum. See both of them, a very characteristic sort of look of the young lions, waiting for movement, waiting to find out what's going on exactly, listening in the distance. There might be some sounds out there we haven't quite picked up ourselves yet. They're looking back in the direction that they came from, back towards Voyatella watering hole. Carol 6, you want to know the differences between of lions down here and lions up there? Well, I'd say they're pretty similar. Pretty similar. Lions in general, regardless of where you go to, are pretty similar. They might have different prey species that they favor. For example, these lions are professionals at buffalo hunting. The Mara lions, they have periods where they have less food, so they have to have probably more of a varied diet. But these lions, I haven't seen them with giraffe, but Lou was saying to me earlier that they have killed a giraffe. I worked with lions years ago that were specialists in giraffe, but had no idea what. And up in the Mara, they seem to know exactly what to do with the zebra and wildebeest, but then they also have a selection. I mean, for example, the Olalola Pride had a really nice sort of enjoyment of warthogs for some time when I was there. So I don't think there's an enormous behavior difference. I just think that down here we don't see as large clans of hyena. So the lions are the dominants, whereas up there with clans of 70, 80, 90 plus individuals, the lions give way to the Mara hyena. Where down here, hyena scavenge and they get absolutely nothing from a pride of more than 2 or 3 individuals. Where up there, if you don't have the numbers with regards to lions, they have to give way, because the hyenas come en masse. So I think there's slight differences in the fact that these lions know how to use the cover of trees, whereas up in the Mara it's all about long grass hunting. So I don't think there's enormous changes in the behavior, but it's all quite similar with regards to just prey species is where things would change. Okay, well hopefully these lions are going to move. I know I keep saying that. Go back over to Tristan and the beautiful Thandi.
Well, the beautiful Thandi is posing as good as you could ever ask for a leopard. She's on top of the smallest little mound that's absolutely clear, still calling, and I think that she was resting on this mound with Kalamba this morning when we first got here, and Hosanna arrived at the same time we did, I think, and that's why there was just pandemonium that came from this section. It wasn't that they were fighting already before we got here. I think she saw him and ran in. I think this is where, because she's come to this mound, this is the 3rd time she's come to this particular mound, and this is where we saw her running from initially when we had initially with Hosanna. So I think little Kalamba was from here somewhere. I think the 2 of them were on this mound, and she then bolted off, and that's why Thandi keeps coming back to this particular mound to sit and take it and just kind of call and hope that little Kalamba will find her. She looks beautiful, doesn't she, though? Every now and then just kind of looking over her shoulder towards where Hosanna was. I've scanned every single tree. I've looked. Can't find any sign of little Kalamba in the trees here anywhere. I've tried to check everywhere that we can, and there's just nothing that we can see, although she's now facing very heavily to the south. Come on, little one, make an appearance at the end of the show. That would be ideal if she did, but she's now changed her facial direction and is calling again. Now, I believe a lot of you are hoping that the cub will appear this afternoon. Well, let's hope so. I mean, I'm pretty sure that she's fine. I don't think there's any issues in terms of Hosanna actually around. She's just scared to come back, and also just a little bit of a kind of stubborn girl, and that she doesn't want to make it too easy for Mom. She's got to make all of you stress and all of us stress, as well as make Mom stress before she comes back. It's all about her being dramatic and making sure that she's the center of attention when she does arrive back, which she certainly will be. If she does come back, she will definitely have a lot of praises coming her way, because it's never nice when we have these kind of occasions where these leopards are a little stressed and they're looking for their cub, and you always want to know quickly that the cub is safe, which happened this morning, but it will happen eventually. And like I say, I'm pretty sure by this afternoon the 2 of them will be reunited. I doubt that they're going to be here, though. As soon as they reunite, I think they're going to move off and carry on somewhere else. Anyway, it is that time, unfortunately, where we are going to start heading back home. We're going to try and see if we can get ourselves some breakfast like Hosanna has. It's been another bumper morning. How we've been kind of keeping this up with all these kind of cats and excitement. It's been absolutely insane, and well, in the Mara, the hyena dynamics too. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll hopefully see you all this afternoon. Sunset Safari.